Sorry.
I am on top.
All set, Carolyn? Okay, call to order the Berlin Town of Berlin Planning Commission meeting for March 9th, 2022. Can I have a motion to adopt this evening's agenda?
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Approval of the minutes from the February 9th, 2022 meeting. Any corrections, changes, anything, or additions? Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing on a text amendment for code section 108403. We're going to open up a public hearing. And let's go ahead and grab a chair. Get that underway.
Good evening.
Dave? Yes, sir. Dave, do you have anything to start with, or?
Well, first you want to introduce themselves.
Okay, introduce yourselves, please. And
Mark Cropper, 6200 Coastal Highway, Suite 200, Ocean City, Maryland.
Steve Engel, Shell, Maryland, just in design.
Jason Malone, Salisbury.
Okay.
Okay, they are proposing a text amendment, which is a recommendation of the Planning Commission to the Mayor and Council to amend the town code section 108-403 to allow for fee simple townhouse dwellings with the following lot and area requirements. Number one, the minimum lot size would be 2,000 square feet. Number two, the minimum lot width would be 18 feet. Number three, the front yard setback would be 20 feet. Number four, the rear yard setback would be 25 feet. Number five, the side yard setback would be 0 feet along party walls and 8 feet for the end units. If a townhouse project is developed as allowed herein, the density shall remain as calculated and set forth in the table that says all dwellings. Minimum lot area square feet is 5,000 square foot minimum lot. So these are changes to section 108-403.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
as you recall, we were here previously. We had a rather lengthy hearing on this initially based upon my letter dated October 27th, 2021, where the text amendment was initially submitted. As a result of the last meeting that we had with this board regarding this issue, it seemed to be the greatest concern of the board, and I think Mr. Engelhardt was a concern that if the mayor and council should adopt this text amendment, it will allow a greater density than is otherwise permitted in your code. And I was asked to come up with some language to incorporate in the text amendment to address that issue. So as Mr. Engelhardt has read, and this is directly from your code, I added the language, if a townhouse project is developed as allowed herein, the density shall remain calculated as set forth for, in quotation marks, all dwellings, minimum lot area square feet is 5,000, therefore it would in no way have an impact on the density calculations otherwise provided in the code. So really what we're talking about, and I know because Mr. Engelhardt sent me a copy of the packet, you all have in your packet a copy of a rendering of what this would look like should the mayor and council adopt the text amendment, which is different than some townhouse projects where you have all the townhouses on a single parcel. Do you have a rendering of that? So the difference is between what you have and what you see here, which are the same units on the same parcel, but all of the ground areas, the yards around the units are part of the common areas of what would be this project, and you wouldn't have the individual lot lines as you see on this rendering. And I'll have Mr. Malone address this in a minute, but really what we're talking about, and just about all other jurisdictions I'm aware of have this option. The difference is whether the unit owners want to own in total their own unit in their own yard versus in a project developed as you see here. Basically, your neighbors and your neighbors' friends, if they want, they can come, pitch a tent right behind your unit, because your backyard is everybody's backyard. It's not your backyard, you don't control it. And the purpose of this text amendment is so when these units are sold, you're buying the unit, the lot as designated on what would be the subdivision plat, but that unit's yours, you control it totally. As opposed to a condominium project, which would be one way to do it. And as you're aware, in a condominium project, the condominium association is responsible for the maintenance and repairs of the common elements of the condominium, which are the roofs, the exterior walls, the sidewalks, things of that nature, but everybody has a percentage ownership interest in the whole condominium. That's different from here. This is almost like buying a single-family dwelling on a single-family lot. It's just that your home is attached to your neighbor's home. That's the only difference here. It's just another way to develop a townhouse project. So Mr. Engel, you've done these types of projects all over. You've done them both ways, like is being proposed in this text amendment and as is shown in this rendering, correct?
That's correct.
And it's just an alternative way to develop a townhouse project. Have I described it accurately to the board as far as you're concerned?
Yes.
Mr. Malone, you're the developer here, we're here on your behalf. When you came to Steve and myself about submitting this text amendment, essentially what you told me is, having developed for as many years as you have, at this point in the market, there is a greater demand for the townhouse purchasers to own the townhouse, have their backyard, be responsible for their own home, as opposed to being part of a condominium regime, correct?
Yes, sir.
But it wouldn't stop there from being a homeowners association for the project, and the homeowners association would adopt a declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions that everybody has to comply with to make sure that you have uniform maintenance and care of the entire project. But still, the unit owners would own their own unit and their own backyard on their lot, and that's a big distinction between this and what Mr. Engel is showing as an alternative, correct?
Yes.
So that's basically where we are. And your code doesn't address it today. And so when we were pursuing this project and we discussed it with Mr. Engelhardt, because your code is silent on this, that's why we had to submit a text amendment.
Quick question. The setbacks for the front and rear are looking to change from the existing to the proposed. So the existing is 25 feet on the front and the proposed is 20, and on the rear it goes from 35 to 25.
Yes.
What about owning your land would change the setbacks? And why?
What about owning?
So
What
why,
makes that?
why
What was
making
that?
this
What
change?
makes that happen?
Yeah, why do we have to change that?
Steve, can you answer that question?
I don't know if I have a,
I will tell you what.
That's changing. Yes, yes.
what's
Yeah,
that?
why?
Is it because of just the way they're laid out in their
It's-
distance to
Yeah,
the road
yeah.
that you have to make that change?
Basically, they designed the project,
Mhm.
and then
And
we
then-
drafted
and then
the
put that
text
on.
amendment to reflect
Right.
what you're seeing on this rendering, that's why.
But why should all future projects should we be changing the setbacks?
so typically though, townhomes have lesser yard restriction setbacks than a single-family home does. Before we submitted the text amendment, we looked at other codes and other jurisdictions, by Common Code, Sussex, and we kind of took, the least restrictive that we came across.
I guess I just mean so these setbacks have been good up until today. And back in December when you proposed that there was 24 units, and with these new setbacks, there's 28 units, which I get you're trying to put more units within that area. I understand that purpose. So I mean, is the full intention of the setbacks just to put more units in it? And I guess my question would be, is this something that for all future projects, we have now condensed or reduced setbacks for all future R4 projects?
So,
Go ahead.
so part of the decision was also that there's a lot of restrictions on this particular piece. There's a lot of utilities, easements and drainage easements and existing stormwater management, some existing utilities and trying to fit everything in and to achieve the developers' needed number of lots to use the needed, to achieve his needed density. Like Mark said, we kind of came up with a site plan that we thought worked and backed into some of the setbacks.
So what's the average front yard setback on what you have here?
This should all be 20 feet.
All 20 feet?
What with the
At some
project?
point, on a circle, at some point, they're 20 feet.
At a minimum, they're 20 feet.
None of them are less than 20, is what Ron's going to do.
Correct.
As far as the roads go, are they going to be dedicated, or are they going to be part of an association, or how's that work?
That's the next hearing. This is just a
Yeah, that would come up this site plan if you want us to answer it.
Right.
Okay.
Let's, just to keep it clear.
Okay.
That's what we're going to be confused. What setbacks are being given a lesser? You say the front yard, what's the code required for the project if we didn't have this code in mind? What would be the front yard, rear yard?
Yeah, my
25, it's
You got it.
35.
Can you say that again, Dave?
25 in the front, 35 in the rear.
I mean, the thing that troubles me about this a little bit is that, and Mark, you know this, we don't like to pass legislation so that it suits a particular project. You don't want to legislate a particular project into condition, into existence because it has certain problems. I think we just need to consciously be aware that if we approve this, we're tightening up what's going to happen on a lot as far as the construction goes, not as far as density goes. So we're really tightening up the buildings.
I mean, could they file for a variance instead of changing the outside now?
Well, the problem is with a variance, the standards for a variance, I would say are very difficult to meet when you're developing a broad piece of land, because you can design the land to meet the parameters of the lot. So it's probably not suitable, quite candidly, even though I hate to say that in public, it's probably not suitable for a variance. What's your question? You don't need it. Can you meet the 25? So can you meet the 25 on all of the lots?
So you're gonna push them back? Is that what you're saying?
Well, check the other, check all of this to make sure it's fine.
Yeah.
You push it back, and I'm sure these units are gonna be a struggle there. And 20, like 20.
Right.
Number one.
Number
I mean, all of them, not
Yeah, I'll
just.
know, go back to the drawings.
Well,
You have a problem?
no, I have an issue with period.
I don't know.
This is third year.
I'm thinking that I don't.
Okay.
That's a real thing, I have no idea.
I mean, well, to me,
That's why I tell them, we can read the 25, make sure.
let me ask.
Wait a minute, wait, I can solve this. I can solve this. Steve believes that we can meet the 25 as opposed to the 20, based upon this.
Well, let me
rendering.
ask you, it was already asked, but why'd you try to move them up? Why'd you want them 20?
I don't know that there's an answer to that. Steve is the one that just recognized that based upon this site plan, he's showing 25 feet as opposed to 20. And I got the dimensions.
Yeah, I'm not really sure where the 20-foot come from after looking at the site plan that I have with me.
So these are 25,
They're 25s.
they're the ones right there.
That would typically give you, a better driveway, a longer driveway in front of the units.
I don't know that we want that. I don't want a longer
I'm just
driveway.
saying, that's one reason to
Well-
consider it.
We could say for the record, if the 20 feet versus the 25 is a concern, this site plan works at the 25, and we would revise the text amendment accordingly if that was the concern of the planning commission.
So let me ask you this. Do you want a bigger backyard than you have now? Is that part of what's driving this? Because you
Backyard.
say people want, their own property. Is it the backyard that they're looking for?
Yeah, a bigger backyard would be more desirable for buyers.
So what were the setbacks when you came here in December for that design that had 24 units? Was that based on the original
The same.
setbacks?
Same plan, isn't it?
I'd have to look at that plan, I don't have a copy of that with me.
Because I'm not trying to fight you, I see that 4 units were added from the original plan, and I wasn't sure if the original plan had the original setbacks, and then by trying to change the setbacks, you were able to squeeze 4 more units into here.
So when you see our site plan, we actually went from a 50-foot right-of-way to a 30-foot right-of-way.
Okay.
That's where we picked up the extra room.
Square footage.
And that might be the issue with the 20-foot front yard setback, is that
Because that's
we
right,
reduced the,
that's what it is.
So it just kind of came to be
Yes,
when you reduce the right away.
that's right. That's right.
Okay. Well, I don't know that I have a problem with 20 foot.
Well, in my opinion, you're our spatial expert,
I-
and so if you feel like 20 feet is adequate, then I'm in favor of people maximizing their backyards. I mean, why put a building in the middle of the space? and
Look,
trash
what's
it?
one of the nicest streets in town, I think, is Powelton.
Oh, yeah.
And why is that? Because the houses aren't sitting back. That's why. So if you have
Right.
a nice looking house. then you
My
push it up.
uncle, Tim Christine's house is on
Yeah,
Bowden.
yeah, exactly.
And they have the prettiest backyard in town. It's huge.
Yeah, but still,
And
the
the house is
street,
right
but
there.
the
That's
streetscape
right. That's
is
right.
much better because of the distance,
Right.
proximity of the house.
Their house is right
to
up on the sidewalk.
Right.
Right.
So to me, I think we should be moving towards that, as long as the house is something we want to look at.
Right. That's true. That's true.
There are
Okay.
some magnificent backyards, as using this as an example here, and I'm all in favor of maximizing backyards and having a good
And
streetscape.
having a good streetscape, so I got no problem with pushing them up and making it part of the code. As long as we're looking at nice houses.
Did you hear that?
Well, that's where we're going next, that's where we're going next, so. So I don't know, what do you want to do?
Well, you
You
didn't
want to go to
recommend
the 20?
well, that's what,
It gives you
Basically,
more-
that's what we'll be voting on, and then you
Yeah.
just have to change your plan.
Right. Well, if you want,
If you want, right?
this gives you more, the 20 feet gives you more flexibility. obviously.
It does, I think it
So if
makes
you're
more
going to,
sense.
if you're considering adopt or giving a favorable recommendation to the text amendment, you leave it at 20 and the developer can adjust from there. And when we come in for site plan approval, which is next, you can discuss then where you prefer to see the units in relation to the setback.
Right, but this gives you flexibility.
Yes.
And I think it's better land use.
I'd rather have a larger backyard than front yard.
I think most people, that's what you're thinking about, and I think most people do, so
Well,
why not
privacy,
just?
privacy.
Yeah, well, why do you have all this space up front? It's
Right.
like-
I
Well,
agree.
why we go one fee simple, that's why you're one fee simple.
Right, exactly.
Right. So basically, it's like row houses.
Yeah.
Constantly.
That's what it is.
That's
Yeah,
what
just
I'm-
split up like a little bit.
Right.
Same concept.
Right.
So maybe you could explain to the people present and the commission, we added the last wordage that the minimum lot area for the calculation is still 5,000, the way the code reads and the table reads for the R4. What's the need for the minimum lot size of 2,000 square feet? We never really got clarification on that in December.
What was that? I was talking to Steve. Is there a question?
The minimum lot size, why do we still need 2,000 if we're still calculating off 5,000 minimum lot size?
because then the town.
Speak up.
Because then the townhome lots would have to be, if they're only 18 foot wide, they'd have to be 500 foot deep or something.
If they're only 18 wide.
Right.
Or 20 or whatever, they're gonna have to be really deep lots.
So this way you can have an 18-foot wide unit and still have a large yard, but again, to make the 5,000 would be huge compared to this.
Correct. It would be double.
Right, right.
See, again, the assumption here, in my mind, is that any future townhouse developments would be this kind of arrangement with a fee simple, large rear lot and pretty large front lot, not like we're used to seeing. So we're converting over for this particular style of development, but we may not be looking at that same style of development. Do you remember one in recent memory? I don't, in my 8.5 years here.
So the next project doesn't have to be fee simple, it's not
Right.
establishing.
Yeah, this
from
is
here on out.
Understood, but when
That's
you
what you
change that 108-403, you're changing that, not forever, you could change it back with another text amendment, but when you change it to that 2,000 minimum lot size, you've changed the way it's worded.
Dave, you're losing me completely. All this provides is an option that you can either develop a townhouse project as fee simple lots, or you can develop not as fee simple lots. This isn't changing the code saying that all these projects have to be fee simple lots. It's just giving the opportunity to do it either as fee simple lots or not as fee simple lots. And if it's developed as fee simple lots, as shown on the rendering, the minimum lot size is 2,000 square feet. They can be larger, but they don't have to be, and yet your density doesn't change because of the additional language in the text amendment we added. So I'm lost with what you just said. That this isn't mandating that all future townhouse projects have to be done this way. It's just giving the alternative that you can do it this way.
Then it should be worded that way. Fee simple townhouse lots may be allowed under the following parameters. Where you're not changing front, rear, side setbacks from the code if they are not fee simple lots.
Well, Dave, with all due respect, it says, I here propose to amend section 108-403 of the Berlin Code to allow fee simple townhouse dwellings. It doesn't say to mandate. So your code allows townhouse projects today. It just doesn't allow fee simple townhouse projects. All this does is add a provision to your existing code, giving a developer the option to do it this way or the other way. And I will stipulate for the record, this is not intended to replace your existing townhouse code provision. It's just to add an additional section to allow a townhouse project to be developed in a different manner, that's all.
Pete, you agree with that, or? I'm gonna defer to you.
I'm listening to what Dave's saying. Dave, it doesn't change the density though.
Not the way it's with the latest
These
edition
changes
where the,
Allowable steps.
is that last paragraph that you see where it says minimum lot area square
Yeah.
is 5,000.
You're right. So I'm trying to get to the core of your concern because.
I think what Dave was thinking is this, if the mayor and council were to adopt this text amendment, it would replace the existing code provision, making all future townhouse projects fee simple.
And you understand that's not the case, Dave?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand your concern. I mean, to me, it gives an alternative. We're not losing density. We're perhaps benefiting a developer in terms of getting perhaps another unit or two in, but
It's
this
expanding it.
is the kind of living that people are happy with today. And I'm involved in a lawsuit right now on Court of Appeals on this very issue of townhouse association that should have been an association and didn't know it, had problems through all the years, and now we got a lawsuit. And it's this very issue of, they didn't know that they were an owners association, or should have been, de jure under the law. I think it's an option we should have. I really do. I think it's something people want. I know in this particular suit we're involved in, they're saying, okay, let's write whatever we have to write and make it fee simple. Let's fix it. We're not an association, we don't want to be. So our declaration, let's change it. So
I agree
it's a
with
real
you.
live
Yeah.
issue. And we should have the alternative in our code, in my opinion.
So the way the language is right here is that,
Yeah, it seems to work for me. I was concerned about the setbacks, but our expert on
I'm
building,
no expert.
well, you know more about it than we do.
comparatively here.
And 20
No.
feet is, to you, seems adequate. and-
Well, you just go down Powell and you see.
Yeah, right.
I did have one question. Lots like 20, 21, 13, that's, am I reading correctly? Those are nice big yards. I mean, that's, I know that huge chunk. The guy who owns unit 21, he's got a big yard. Am I reading that correctly?
That's the way it's laid out currently, that's correct.
That's nice.
It is nice.
Those will be popular, for sure. That'll be a big backyard.
You're gonna sell the units with the bigger yards for more money?
You gotta ask that
Come
guy.
on now.
If he can, I'm sure he will.
A couple of them look like a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Get your garden out there,
Yeah.
if you allow community gardens. We'll
They'll be
talk,
the
we'll
first
talk
one-
about that
They'll be
later.
the first ones that go.
You allowed detached pole barns.
Yeah, build my pole barn back.
Yeah. There you go.
so Dave, are you satisfied with that, or? is it-
Well, I would guess when I do the actual text amendment, the wording, in my opinion, should be something like, in that section 108-403. It starts with fee simple townhouse dwellings with the following lot and area requirements shall be or may be permitted.
Fine with me.
Pete? Okay?
So that would be possibly a motion that you would make if that's how you want to word it.
So moved.
I didn't write the language down, but somebody
Fee
did.
simple townhouse dwellings with the following lot and area requirements may be permitted. And then we go with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the last paragraph. Is that acceptable, Mr. Cropper?
Yeah, oh, that's acceptable to
Do you think
me.
you might want to add the word after the word following, say following minimum lot and area requirements?
Following minimum?
Yeah.
Does that mess you guys up at all?
No.
Clarify.
No, no.
That's what it's intended,
That's safe,
so,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, this is a motion you're going to pass, and then that's the text amendment
Yeah.
we'll take to the mayor and council next upon your recommendation, your motion.
Right. And I guess you'll change the precatory language, because we don't want to say, I hereby propose.
Right.
No.
I think we took that out of Mark's letter.
No, and I just remind you that we are in a public hearing, so you might want to have public comment.
Okay, does anybody from the public have any comments? Yes, state your name and address, please.
Marie V. Long, 400 West Street. I'm confused, is this going to have a homeowners association? Is it required, is it considered a private community?
I would, to clarify that, Ron, maybe not necessarily. You might have a project come in with fee simple and no association.
Well, she said this
Yeah,
project.
storm.
Well, this project, is not-
Right,
that's
right,
not this
right.
hearing. This hearing is
Okay.
about the
Yeah, this is
ordinance.
about the text amendment.
Yes.
That question's really more appropriate for the next
That's correct.
hearing.
Right, right.
Well, actually, it's appropriate for this. Is this
Yeah.
code, under this code, are we mandating you have to have an association? No.
No.
And we don't currently.
Right.
Right,
For any townhouse project.
We do not.
Right.
right.
Anybody else from the public have a,
Well, while you're on that, why do you want one? I'm just curious. Why?
Is this considered a private community? And I'm looking to see what the difference between this is and like Decatur Farms.
There wouldn't be with an HOA.
Yeah.
You
But,
still have common elements, you still have,
right, but I'm just, there, he just said that they didn't have to have it, so what makes it different?
It's not
Lots of
different.
fee simple.
This Decatur Farms is fee simple ownership of your lot. This
Is
is
what?
fee simple ownership of your lot.
With the homeowners association?
May or may
No,
not.
no, you said Decatur Farm.
Well, Decatur Farms has a homeowners association, but this one may not. And I don't know if this one has any common area either. This one's
Yeah,
all
but it's
fee
private
simple.
community.
Yeah, common areas would be stormwater management, all
Oh, yeah,
that kind
right,
of stuff,
right.
sidewalk, yeah, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So in your case, you might have to have an association unless you had, because you have to collect fees.
Right.
So you're going to have to be an association.
And he said there's going to be an association. There's
Right.
going to be covenants.
So under the code, you'll have to be an association.
Right.
Right.
Well, it's basically because you have common grounds, right? So you gotta be.
That's right,
There's no way around it.
that's right.
Okay.
But in another project that's like this, it may not have
They'll
necessarily.
have stormwater.
Yeah.
They'll have-
Yeah,
Everyone will have
What if they
stormwater.
have perfectly natural drainage?
There's not gonna have.
It would be really rare
Even
not
if you were
to
at the
have
top of the
need
hill,
for
you'd
that.
still have it.
Really rare.
Yeah, I agree, it would be very unusual not to have a homeowners association,
So by just regulation, everybody's got one.
for the most part.
Yeah, okay. Which keeps
Except for the
yards,
case
which
that,
which
except for the
keeps
case that
everybody's
Pete's
yard,
involved
Yeah.
peer pressure keeps the yards
Mhm.
relatively.
If not,
Presentable.
If not, you get a letter from the.
You got a little muscle, right, which you don't really have anyway, as you know.
I mean, again, I just don't see this any different than where I live in Martha's Landing. We all have, they're single-family lots as opposed to townhouses, but we have a homeowners association, and you have covenants you have to comply with, but you own your house, you own your yard, and
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
It's just applicable to a townhouse versus a single-family
Right,
dwelling. That's the only
They just share a
difference.
wall.
And they're sharing a wall, that's it.
Row house.
Row-
Just go back to row houses,
Yep.
same thing.
Well, for a townhouse.
Yeah.
Me too.
Thank you. Any public comment, anybody else have any questions, suggestions, comments?
I just have,
Yes, can you state your name and
Patty
address,
Patty
please?
Corson. I'm
Address,
so
please.
confused, is this,
Have your address also, please.
oh, 510 Sunlight Lane, Unit 2,
Thank you.
Berlin. I'm still confused in this conversation here. Is it going to be an HOA or is it not going to be an HOA? These fee simple townhouses that people are going to own? This is going to be an HOA.
There's, go ahead.
And
You're-
are you
you're
saying
getting
that it
don't-
has
don't
to
get
be, I mean, that
confused.
it's always gonna be, any townhouse communities like this has to be an HOA if they have common areas?
I'm saying maybe not necessarily, but everybody's telling me.
The odds would be almost impossible.
It's all,
Because you're gonna share common space between the driving, the stormwater management.
Let's make sure there's not confusion here between a condominium association and a homeowners
Right,
association. There's a big
right.
difference. So and I hate talking with my back to anybody. So who was asking the question? Okay, so with a homeowners association where there's not a condominium regime, you would still have an association that would adopt covenants to make sure everything's maintained well. And you have certain areas in the project, sidewalks, stormwater management, that have to be maintained by an organization. And the organization that does that is the organization of the unit owners, which is the homeowners association. So there would still be a homeowners association to make sure that the project is maintained and operated properly. But that's very different than a condominium association. They're similar because they're both associations for a type of unified development, but with a condominium regime, the condominium, the unit owners all have what they call a divided percentage interest in the common elements of the condominium, which is everybody owns all the roofs, everybody owns all the walls, everybody owns the yards, everybody owns the sidewalks. Those are all common elements. The only thing the condominium unit owners own is basically the interior units, what's inside the walls. So I just wanted to make sure you're not confusing between a condominium association and a homeowners association.
Okay, thank you.
I'm condoed and none of that relates to ours.
Excuse me?
I'm condoed, I'm a
Okay.
condominium,
Mhm.
and none of that pertains to ours. I don't own a percentage. I own my unit, I own my roof, I own my siding, and I have 18 by 20 square feet in the back that is deeded to me. I'm in Decatur Farm Townhomes, so,
I don't know how they had, they're
but I'm
all,
just saying it didn't fit.
well, there's also, I don't know if Decatur Farms, did Decatur Farms do condominium land units, do you know?
I don't know.
Okay. There's another way to do condominiums as opposed to a subdivision. This is going to get very confusing.
I
But-
want to confuse you, I'm just saying that doesn't really fit.
Well, no, I'm going to answer. So it used to be anytime you wanted to take a piece of land and carve it up into individual lots, you would have an engineer prepare a subdivision plat. That plat gets recorded and each lot is delineated within the subdivision. Then some years later, some lawyer somewhere decided they wanted to do the same thing, but have each lot be a condo unit, meaning the land is a condo unit. It's a different way to create a subdivision that was popular about 15, 20 years ago. I'm presuming from what you're saying that the lots in Decatur Farms, each lot is a condo unit on which there is a single-family dwelling. That sounds like what you just described.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know anything about Decatur Farms, but what you described, it sounds like they created condominium land units. is
So
what it sounds.
we're forced to have it, the reason I'm asking is just for future reference, like, where they are gonna be single-family, non-condoed, but they are gonna be attached dwellings.
Right.
Are they gonna be forced, the homeowners, to have a master insurance policy, or is that going to fall on the burden of each, not burden, but fall on each homeowner? And then how will that be handled? I'm just thinking of future problems, because I already know what I'm facing, and it's been horrible.
Well,
So
I'll
if you're
be-
gonna be zoning or making it a different way, is there a way to, how the homeowner's gonna be protected?
Well, you're asking questions I certainly didn't expect this evening, but I'll give my best shot.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Give her your
I
number.
did- I would presume that every one of the homeowners that buys a townhouse unit in this project is going to have homeowners insurance, and they're going to be required to have homeowners insurance, especially if they have a mortgage, because the lender is going to require them to have insurance in case there is damage.
That part I got, you gotta have insurance. right?
Exactly,
Are you
so-
a master
Well,
policy?
And then I will presume, again, we haven't set this up yet, I will presume that the association will have a policy, a liability policy, so if anybody was to get injured on the, what I'll call the common areas of the project, the areas not owned by the individual unit owners, then the association would have an insurance policy to cover such claims.
Okay, I was just curious how they do it, because.
You're really making me work tonight, I gotta tell you.
I am glad.
Oh, in the back, please.
Thank you. I'm Melissa Esham, 507 Sunlit Lane, number 5, Berlin. At Purnell Crossing is also just like Decatur Farms. We own our roof, we own a
No,
lot
we
line.
don't. Yes, you
In
do.
the condominium documents, it's outlined
Okay.
there. And so the difference really is the insurance piece when you condominiumize. The insurance per Maryland Condominium Act requires you to buy a master policy for the common elements
Right.
and the unit.
Mhm.
And so then there's a master policy that of course increases dues because now the association's buying insurance versus the unit owner. The maintenance still falls right back to the unit owner to maintain everything about the building.
Okay. Well, I'm certainly not going to question your accuracy because I haven't reviewed your documents. I will tell you that is, in each condominium regime, in the condominium declaration and on the condominium plat, they define, may I say that?
Right.
The developer defines what is considered the unit, the limited common elements, and the common elements.
Right.
And the general rule is, I'll leave it at that, that generally the exterior structural components of the building are common elements. What you described is different at Purnell Crossing, but that is, I would say, probably an exception to what is the general rule.
It became popular and then they actually, at the Maryland Legislative, they changed it to make sure that you couldn't have the same roof line.
Right.
And then everybody had a different roof line and then that made it able so that each unit owner could maintain their individual
Right.
unit.
So if you went to a condominium in Ocean City, that's an easy one, where you have a square building, the roof's common elements, the walls are common elements, the pool's a common element, the sidewalks are common elements. The only thing that is not common elements would be the interior unit, and then you would have limited common elements, and a lot of times boat slips would be a limited common element.
Because if the town was willing to do this, then we could drop our condominium, we could close the condominium out and run as a homeowners association of our common elements.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know where this
I'm
is
just
headed.
listening.
Thank you for the
I did my best.
It was very kind of you.
Is there any other public comment? Yes, ma'am.
I just was wondering, doesn't the developer set up the homeowners
Yes.
association and all of that?
Yes.
So you would know what you have
Yes,
going
you
for
would.
the people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that not correct?
It'd all be in
Yes.
documents,
I'm assuming,
yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So you
Documents
could tell
that you
us
would
now,
sign before you purchased it.
Well,
or whenever you do the project. They
Well,
can
yes.
reveal how the homeowners association is supposed to be.
That's correct.
Okay. I think that's a question that needs to be addressed at every one of these projects.
Well, but
No, that's part of the law. The law mandates what they have to do with a given type of project. So it's, it's not something we need to go over every time.
yeah, and we're not at that point yet. I mean,
No,
we're.
I know, but I'm just a comment.
Okay.
Any other public comments? Dave, do you have anything? Go ahead and close the public hearing. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve, disapprove, or approve with Dave's additions?
I'll make a motion that we approve Dave's language that he read a little while ago, that Pete.
You want to read it again?
Yeah, go ahead and read it again, please.
All right, so we will say, within 108-403, that fee simple townhouse dwellings with the following minimum lot and area requirements may be permitted. And then we have the 1 through 5 item, and the last paragraph where it said, if a townhouse project is developed as allowed herein, the density shall remain calculated as set forth for, in quotes, all dwellings, end quote. Minimum lot area square feet is 5,000, which is our current chart in section 108-403.
And I agree with that language as read by Mr. Engelberg.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All set. All right. Item number 5, site plan approval for Pinellas Crossing North. Fire away.
Same people, same project, same testimony. Really, at this point, we're here to answer questions, because you know almost as much about it as we do. Steve, is there anything about the site plan as submitted that we haven't discussed as part of the text amendment discussion?
So the only difference in this plan from the plan that you saw previously is we reduced the 50-foot right-of-way to 30-foot right-of-way. I spoke to Dave about it. He said he didn't think it would be an issue as long as we kept the road width at the minimum town standard, which we have. They're 24-foot wide, plus the 2-foot curve. Everything still fits within the 30-foot right-of-way. By reducing it to the 30-foot right-of-way, that's why we were able to pick up that additional 5-foot from the front yard setback. The cul-de-sacs have been designed for fire access. The fire trucks can get in there and turn around if they need to get in there. Other than that, it's a pretty straightforward project.
Just out of curiosity, and getting into the issues we've been discussing, let's say I bought lot 13, I got a lot of space there. Am I going to be able to put a storage shed out there, or is that going to be permitted, or are you going to restrict that kind of stuff?
Yeah, you won't. We're probably going to restrict, like, outbuildings and that kind of thing.
You're going to restrict the size of them? You would allow people to have outbuildings for bikes?
Yeah, in certain areas.
Like a lawnmower.
Yeah.
You know, we're not gonna, like lot 13, we're not gonna stick that there, to put it wherever we want there above the roof.
Right.
It'd have to be behind the units.
So lot 13 would then, by your vision, lot 13, there would be a line drawn behind there where that would have to be.
A lot of times, we have a submittal form for people who want to, if they want to do a fence and stuff, and they have to put it on the site plan, show us where it's going, and we approve it.
So you'll have the usual
Architectural review.
Yes.
So it may be permitted, but you're going to look at each thing that's going to be done.
Yes, because it's got to match, match what our color unit is, and, colors.
So you'll allow people to sculpt their yards, have a garden if they want to do a garden or whatever?
Yeah, I've never had that, anybody ask me that on the.
I'm just looking at lot 13 and thinking, boy, if I come in here, I want lot 13 or maybe.
I want 21.
Yeah, maybe 21. Is that all stormwater back there, all these green lines and stuff? Is that ditches?
So the green is an existing 20-foot utility easement. but there's also a 25-foot tax ditch easement.
That's what all the red lines and weird lines are there? Is that like a swampy area or something, or what is
So
that?
the lines that are real tight together are the contours of the ditch,
The yellow, you're talking about in the middle.
Yeah. and then the purple line to the south of that is the width of the easement to maintain the tax ditch.
So they're gonna own that tax ditch. Are they, how does the tax ditch thing work there? Are they gonna get assessed for that? Is that lot gonna get assessed, the tax ditch assessment?
I don't know how that works.
Like 20 and 21, because
Mhm.
20's got a piece of it there too.
My guess is the association's gonna get a charge for that. There's gonna have to be an easement on that lot for the existence of the tax
Yeah,
ditch, because
right.
everybody that has a tax ditch on their property gets assessed. Well, that's my understanding.
That's my understanding.
Right, so here, what the association, and I'm speaking a little out of turn, because we haven't talked about this, my guess is, the association, there will have to be, in the association documents, certain easements, rights of ways, and other authority to maintain that tax ditch, with the association paying any fees and charges associated with that tax ditch.
Oh, right.
Well, you wouldn't, the association wouldn't have to do it. You could dump it on the owner if
You
you
could,
wanted
but
to.
boy, that would really diminish the value of that lot.
Surprise.
Well, most people don't know that.
Yeah,
And you're not even going to be able to access the back of the lot.
Right.
You can't cross the ditch.
I don't think he's got that far in the design, but I would deem to say that we probably would line that off, and that part would be part of the association.
right, right. Meaning the tax ditch and beyond would be part of the association's responsibility and not the lot owner, yeah.
That would not, then would that, but it would be, who would own the land?
Well, the lot line, we could do it one of two ways. You can change the lot line to be around the tax ditch, or you can include it all on the lot subject to. You could do it one way or the other.
And then prescribe that the association is gonna maintain the northerly prongs of those lots? Like
And
lots
they would own it, they should.
It would not be on the other side of the ditch.
The HOA
But
would.
they gotta know, they can't do anything there, I mean, they can't even access it.
So then we're gonna have common land, the HOA.
So all you can do is cut grass there.
Because, Mr. Crosby, obviously, because it's a tax ditch and there's certain legal responsibilities and liabilities associated with maintaining a tax ditch, you would not want that to rest on, or you wouldn't want to trust and rely upon lot owner in this project to do that.
Exactly.
You could, I mean, I.
You
I don't-
could, but
I mean, all that person has to do is pay the tax assessment they get.
to keep it maintained.
Right, that's not their job to maintain it, the tax ditch association maintains it.
Right.
They just pay into it. So you could do it that way, that's why I'm just saying, and, you know, if somebody wants a big lot, they say, sure, fine, I'll walk across the tax ditch, let me build a bridge across it. I want a garden out there on the road.
By 10 crossing.
Yeah.
By 10 crossing.
Whatever, I
We
mean,
haven't gotten that far, quite honestly.
I'm just a Caledonian guy. If I got a shot at a big piece of land and have a garden in, I want to have a garden in it and use it. So, you know, I might want to pay the tax ditch assessment. I don't know how much it is, but I'm just raising the issue, guys, because I wanted to be part of it.
Is there any plan to, on that, I guess that'd be your easterly borderline where it butts up to Brown Crossing Phase 1, can you build a fence there to separate those developments in any way?
I'm not
Or
opposed to it.
shrubbery or tree line or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that, we put a fence or
How about trees instead of vinyl?
trees.
Yeah, vinyl doesn't get good over time, trees do.
Maybe a tree line along the border too?
Yeah, because we're not showing a landscape plan or the lighting. or
Yeah, that's
anything.
my next question, is where's the landscape and lighting plan?
Haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay,
I'm here for
Sorry, I
approval.
don't listen.
okay, no, I'm just kind of looking ahead and head things off to the past, that's all.
We plan on doing extensive on the landscaping, make it look good, coming off the road.
You know the kind of downlighting we like.
Yeah, you go. That's my
I
question.
know what you guys want.
Lighting and landscaping and.
Same with the library.
All right. I hate to hold you up, but street lighting and landscaping are all things we'd like to look at.
So the stormwater pond over here be maintained by,
That stormwater pond's an existing pond, that was part of the original development.
so So that goes along with the association or?
Currently in and operational, and I don't know,
It's a pretty big area, so. And the roads will not be dedicated, or they will be, or you don't know, or?
so based on a conversation I had with Dave, he said the town was moving away from accepting road dedication. So that's where we stand at this point, we're not going to.
Another reason for homeowners association.
Right, right.
Correct?
So you would absolutely need an association for maintaining and snow removal.
Snow removal? Yeah. Come on now.
Once in a while.
Was there some master agreement with Purnell Crossing, the PUD as a whole, that provides for contributions from all the subdevelopments maintained like that stormwater pond? Do you guys know?
I do not know, Pete.
Okay.
I know when we just did Grinnell Crossing to the south, that issue didn't come up. Those ponds were already in, stormwater was already in for the entire development. As long as we weren't increasing the amount of impervious cover, nothing was required to be, there was no additional stormwater required.
I'm just wondering who's ultimately responsible when there's maintenance issues with the ponds and stuff. You know, if there has to be a clean out or something. I'm just curious now at this point, where's the money coming from? Who's got the obligation? Seems to me there ought to be some agreement in place. I don't know whether there is or not. You know,
Oh, Pete Donovan.
okay.
Any way to get some overflow parking? It's tight in there with, so you have a single garage on a 3-story home with one parking space out front. I mean, you're looking at having two cars total per unit. So if you have anybody over, where are they parking at this point?
Well, but when you got 24 foot wide, and you got people parking on both sides of the street, you got a problem.
Let me tell you.
Can't put like no parking on this side of the street signs.
We had, our lot, our road's 24 foot wide, and we had to get the town to make it one way, so you can only park on one side of the street.
Right.
Because if people park on both sides, emergency service is not gonna get through.
Pretty much paid in front of them.
It's tough on certain days like Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah,
Everybody's
yeah,
got
Christmas
a
parade.
visitor, yeah.
My house almost burned down on Washington Street because narrow roads and people parking on both sides.
Yeah, Washington Street's become impossible. I can't even pull out with a boat on my trailer anymore out of my driveway on the Washington Street side.
I think it's some spots we can put overflow.
It's just tough. Just to be called a space, I live in Burnell Crossing, and even we don't have enough parking space. And when people have over, it's tough.
How wide's your road? 35?
Yeah, it's a wider road.
People park on the street,
Yeah, people park where they're not supposed to
but
park.
there's no, yeah, right.
Because, there's just not enough
Or
parking.
not enough parking.
Yeah.
So there's area to the south of the cul-de-sac to the east. We could
Right.
probably add some parking in that green space there.
And these driveways are a little longer than usual, but, people have to move, or you want to park behind each other, but you still get off the street.
And then I don't know if you talked to SHA, but I was talking to, I forget who, but they're working on bringing sidewalks all the way up to Purnell Crossing. You might want to start that conversation, because if the SHA is going to foot that bill, you might want to see if they'll bring this sidewalk all the way up to here while they're at it. It's also going to be a lot cheaper for them if they do it all in one go. And it would be nice. It's a tough road to walk on.
What's the time frame you're looking at, do you know?
Unknown.
Soon, because it has to do with the infrastructure bill, there is money with MDOT and SHA right now, or about to be money. And that's not always the case every year.
Well, that'd be good
So-
for your project too, just to have that there.
Not saying it would be done soon, but that could be, that those funds could be allocated and the designs. We have several areas in town we're interested in getting sidewalks, and that's one of them. On state roads, they're not our roads, so typically the state installs them and pays for that, not the town. So this is our time to try and get that accomplished. There's several areas. Mr. Cosby's always mentioned 818 North. That's one that we may ask him for. And along Old Ocean City Boulevard. And this project itself, Old Ocean City Boulevard, west of 818, to this area. Those are several of the areas. There's more, but those are on State Highway.
Do you know how far it is from lot 28, that house, to the house to the right of it? The existing?
Is that your house, Matt?
No, it's not. I'm just wondering, 'cause I mean, it's gonna be a 3-story house. So I'm just wondering, 'cause I know when this came about back with the original apartments, people were, the shadow study, that word kept coming up. Not necessarily a shadow study, but I'm just trying to figure out what that height difference is gonna be, or the length difference between the existing building and the house on lot 28, which would probably be the closest
How
one.
long is the townhouse if you turn it sideways?
So it's greater than 30 feet. I'd say it's somewhere between 30 and 50 feet away.
Okay,
Hence, trees and shrubs.
right.
I think you need to address the street parking situation.
And put in some overflow parking where we can.
Well, I mean, no, just particularly in where lots 1 to 6 and 13 to 16 are across from each other.
Mhm.
If people come and park, anywhere else, if people park on either side of the street, it ain't gonna matter. But there, if people park on both sides of the street, you're gonna have to, let's do it now rather than later.
Right.
So you're gonna have to restrict parking on one side of this, and people are gonna have to know when they buy this. And it looks like the guys from 13 to 16 are gonna get the no parking, right? Because there's less of them.
Also, we're a little restricted because they're creating lots. So if I start taking public parking out of lots, my lot size is going to go down, and it may or may not meet the minimum requirement. So although we have areas, I think we can add parking, it might not be specific to a block, and people might have to park and walk.
Well, yeah, we got a problem with that down here, people aren't gonna walk anywhere. I'm just, maybe there between those, you widen the road a little bit, I don't know. Because when people are gonna park on both sides of the street there at some point. And when the fire truck has to get in, it's trouble. Maybe just widen the street a little bit, or that rather than restrict it on one side or the other.
Or we can do the 20-foot setbacks.
Huh?
The 20-foot setbacks are good.
Yeah, you know,
So we can,
So if you could do that, you could go back to the 20 feet and make the road wider.
just there, just right there.
Right.
we can make this road.
We'll figure out something.
Okay, got it? Yeah, because we're having trouble
Right. Right.
after the fact.
Okay.
We'll figure out something.
Okay, yeah, you know the deal, right.
Gotcha.
Does that have the sidewalk all the way through there, or is that
Yeah.
just my imagination? or-
Now it's got sidewalks all the way around,
All the way around.
both sides of the road.
That's nice.
Does the tax ditch run underneath 346, or does it just materialize right there? I think it materializes there. Does it really?
I think it continues up the road.
Right down lot 20 or whatever. So it just kind of
It runs down.
Yeah, because the road,
Going west.
runs down the
the
side.
ridge of the road cut off the real drainage.
Yeah, and then,
My regular bike riding zone, I think it's hard.
See there, goes up and runs parallel,
okay.
and continues up all the way towards Pete Richardson's, and that's right there. We have egress from Richardson.
Okay. Is there any public comment, or anybody have any questions, or, yes, ma'am?
In regards to the parking, I think you're right on that. Why can't you put in an overflow area where you have extra parking spaces? You have all that extra room in between.
We can.
Yeah, we're gonna look at that. Mr. Engel was pointing to some areas earlier especially around the cul-de-sac where we could put in some overflow parking. So we're going to definitely do that. And widen the street, it sounds like. If we go to the 20-foot front yard setback, we can also have a wider street.
Just there where it's required.
Right,
Okay,
right.
Because then you screw with the stormwater.
Right.
Worse.
Any other questions? Yes?
Patty Corsican. Matt, you might be able to help me with this. As you're coming into Purnell Crossing, are these townhouses being built on the right side
Yes.
of Purnell? Okay. And is there definitely a separate entrance for those off of 346 versus our Purnell Crossing entrance? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no connectivity to Purnell Crossing.
It's further west than your entrance.
Oh, okay, I was going to show, okay.
Are school buses coming into these, do you know, or are they gonna stop on the highway like they do Purnell Crossing and everything else? They don't go in?
They turn around.
Okay. Well, that's just a question.
Yeah.
They stop on the highway.
I mean, it's always been so much.
Yes.
Sorry, the school bus can come in, they just choose not to.
Fair enough.
Like it's 19, the summer school bus would come in and pick them up, but the regular bus didn't.
Yes.
So it really is up to the bus driver.
Okay.
Kids can
It's
walk.
not far to walk to the entrance.
Yeah, it's
It's
not.
not
Kids can
a
walk.
problem.
It's always been just something I wondered.
Is that road dedicated over there in Purnell Crossing, or is that part of the...
Sunlight Lane is a town road.
It's a
yes.
town road, so they can go in there, but they wouldn't go into private property anyway, right?
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I think it being the 24-foot road bed might be the reason. And, you know, school board makes that decision where they load. They have to have a centralized location. They don't pick them up. It's not ballet, you know, they don't pick them up.
In some places it
It
seems
is
like
in
it.
summer, yes.
In certain neighborhoods.
Yes.
But it's a great reason to point out that it would be good to have a sidewalk there with more families in that area and young kids being picked up right on Old Asian City
Right,
Road.
that's-
That's a good push to have the sidewalk put in,
Right.
if anybody needs help pushing that idea.
All right, any other comments from the public? Or Dave, you have anything else for us?
Are we going over the elevations?
Yeah, in a second. Yeah.
No, I mean, I gather we're here for site plan approval, I thought.
Yes.
But you have to decide you have the elements you need, like the landscaping and that type of thing.
So, landscaping, again, these are gonna be individually owned lots, so gonna plant trees on lots that are gonna be privately owned.
Yes.
Well, then I'll say this then. We asked about a fence between Matt's backyard and this development. Would there be a landscape buffer there, plantings? Typically, the planning commission themselves, they ask you for nice monumental trees, you know, here and there. So I don't know, that's your
Well,
purview, not mine.
I definitely want to see a landscape plan, I mean, and street lighting. And you can make maintenance of those landscaping items a part of the requirements for whatever lot you sell that has that particular requirement on it. We talked about the tax ditch and the north side of the tax ditch. If you decide to keep that land in the association, well, that's a perfect place to plant some monumental trees.
Right.
And screen things and gives people some decent trees in the neighborhood.
We usually plant trees, like when you're coming in on each side of the sidewalk, like single trees and right in the yards all the way around.
I think that, well, all the way along Route 346, a nice tree all the way along there, spaced out at,
Whatever we decide, we look
it's
at.
wide open right now, there's nothing there,
It's a
right?
great place to grow it up, tree that's gonna last for a couple hundred years, you know? The town's really losing its big trees.
Every day.
They're going down all over the place, dying.
For no
and growing.
reason.
I think that'd be a nice uniform look from there, from both ends of the property, all the way from the swim pond to the stormwater pond.
You want to just prepare.
So,
some-
let's-
All the way down to the end would bring, along here, would be,
To the corner where lot
Yeah, just-
21 meets.
Not knowing how we can proceed with
Right, from here to here.
spaced out appropriately, yeah?
Pete, why don't don't we have Steve prepare a landscaping plan and submit to you all with specified trees?
Yes.
And then you can look at it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, propose something.
Right,
You know, you know what we want.
Steve knows what you, Steve, gives them what they want.
Not just individual pear trees, we want some.
Yeah, you never had prepared, there, no maintenance like
Something you can cut a deal underneath.
A peace tree. The new we oak.
How about a lighting plan for the road? It's gonna be typical what's in town right now, or?
We haven't gotten that far only because we were trying to get past
Okay.
this fee simple
Okay.
issue.
Right, we're just trying to,
Do you have certain pole, like you all recommend?
the town has a lot to say.
Yeah, we have
Town.
a Victorian lamp post that we typically use in any new developments, new
Town lighting.
subdivisions.
Yeah, it would be the same ones.
Be nice to have consistency throughout that.
Steve knows.
Since it's fee simple, would you have to put in the deed restrictions that each, it's then the responsibility of the lot owner to be planting these trees?
You have to put that in the deed, I guess. or
For
however you
the
want.
specific lots that border, or how,
Wherever we decide we want to see a tree or landscaping, you're going to have to put some kind of a burden on that lot.
And I think it's not planting, it's maintaining. I think planting is going to go on the development. You know, it's not going to happen.
We can just approve it.
It needs to be
I can't plant.
done by them.
Yeah, planning's got to keep it.
Yeah.
As long as we beat square footage.
But maintenance is a part of
Yes.
those deeds. Maintenance is part of the deed at the homeowners association.
Well, they can do it any way they want. They could say, you
Right.
could say that the association will maintain those areas. I mean, that's up to you guys.
Hey, Martha's Landing, they cut the grass in the yards. I own the yard, but the HOA cuts the grass, so you can do.
You pay for it, right?
Yes, yes, you can do that.
Just to make sure you're not slack on your grass.
Which I more than likely would. Yeah, so we'll do a landscaping plan and a lighting plan and send to you.
And the other thing, I really think it is important to find out and let us know how this PUD is set up for the maintenance of these stormwater ponds that serve everybody.
Okay.
We need to know who's paying for that, and where the money's coming from.
Who's responsible?
Who's responsible for it? Right.
Because we've had our stormwater issues here in town, as you know, and we don't want to contribute to it with a new project.
I got it. You got that, Steve? Okay.
So can we, based on approval tonight with the, based on the lighting and
You can make it
landscaping?
conditional, yeah.
Conditional on the lighting plan, landscaping plan, and the maintenance of stormwater for lots where the stormwater goes through the back ditch rather.
Did you want to go into the elevations, Ron?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they're here.
All right.
Yes, stone facades, you know, half stone, little facades. Stone is not indigenous to the shore. Berlin is a brick town. Can we switch that over to brick? Look more like Berlin than someplace where stone goes.
How much are you talking on the units?
just what shows.
Just what's shown here.
Oh, okay.
Just have stone, put brick.
Stone up, 3 foot up or whatever.
Yeah, like a water table.
You
brick.
know,
Okay.
it's more appropriate for the town of Berlin. On the first elevation, that German gable there, we didn't really have a lot of that in town here. It's kind of odd looking. Just my preference is, doesn't really fit that well with town.
Flat roof?
No, just a standard gable rather than
Oh, okay.
a Georgian, I mean, a German gable.
Yeah.
Like the ones on the, below there. And on the one below there, I
Which
just,
one's the German gable?
this up here, where you kind of cut, where a gable just kind of gets cut,
8-3.
rather than to have a gable, just cut the end off, put a hip on it. The little gable on B3, that's kind of weird.
That's poking out farther than the.
Yeah,
the
I
roof
don't
line.
get that. I mean, is it the same elevation as the, The same plane as the front of the building?
We had the one where they're all put together.
That's not such strange.
Bottom left. Bottom left.
D3.
D3, the little gable one next to the right of the big gable.
Okay.
Is that just trying to get interesting?
These all go together, which I had a full rendering of the,
I know you gotta make them all look different, right?
you know,
But I think we're trying too hard to make them look different.
we can, we can get I had a colored one to put together and show you how it's all matching together.
Okay, yeah, that's just a little gable, it's kind of
You
weird.
wouldn't know which one was there.
Ron, they have 48 different elevations.
Okay, I don't like that one.
They just have 48 different things to pick from, so.
I know.
You have to tell us more specifically what we want, and we'll go through. and-
Well, I'm just, that little, it's just very uncharacteristic of anything I've seen anywhere, much less around town.
Is that a real dormer or is it a fake one like in Decatur Farm?
On B3.
D3, yeah.
These are one.
B3.
Hmm?
Oh, B3.
Continental, are you talking about?
Yeah.
It did, take one.
Fake one?
I like the fake one.
Huh.
I like the fake one.
What, that? Oh, I do too. Yeah.
Are the attics in these places gonna be usable, or are they gonna be basically
Trust.
mechanical rooms or something?
Trust, I guess.
There'll be truss, there'll be, there'll probably be a pull down.
So it'll be a place where they can store stuff?
Yeah.
Well, why not build a real dormer? Does it cost that much more to build a fake versus a real one?
Well, then you end up having to floor it, look to it, and
You have to what?
end up flooring it up to the same, people walk up to it and, you know, fall through trusses and stuff.
You have to make it a living space.
Right.
And then you
Well,
gotta-
then you might have to
If
sprinkle.
it's a real window.
and then you gotta change the trusses.
Yeah, you just trust, if it's trust, you can't really
I'm
fix
I'm
it.
just asking, I like real stuff.
Not,
How tall are these buildings?
How tall are these?
40 something.
They were on the full set of plans,
I didn't bring the architectural.
40.
they're under your height restriction, they don't.
They have to be under the height
I
restriction.
know.
Okay, that's all I got to say.
So what you're saying basically is you want to see a schedule of dormers?
Well, I mean, I'm just pointing out something that doesn't look right to me.
No, I agree, some of them look kind
Yeah, it
of
just
weird.
looks like we're just trying to get different. Now, if there's 48, maybe we want to see a couple more of them.
And Mr. Malone, this isn't a choice the consumer is making, you're predetermining it would be 83, then boom, 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 just
Yeah.
roll it. Okay, predetermined.
Yeah, why don't you just take a look around Berlin and see what kind of dormers you see and put that kind on there.
Okay.
And brick.
Yeah, right. And we're not approving anything, we're just suggesting.
I mean, I like the idea of the dormers to break the roof up. I mean,
Yeah, what you
I
gotta
just
do.
shot it trying to make it look like something.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see them all together, whatever you propose in the groups. So 4 or 5 or so.
Yeah, if I can find his email, I can show you the rendering of it all and put together.
Right.
Well, since, look, we have to submit a landscaping plan, lighting plan, why don't we just have a rendering prepared?
Yeah.
And we'll submit it at the same time, and they can see what the options
Right,
are.
color render,
They
give the
can
options,
put a
put a
check
couple
mark or an
together.
X.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If I'm wrong though, when a buyer picks a townhome, they have choice of selection to be able to change that.
No.
No?
Say that again?
Because, like I said, this is one sheet of many elevations that we received from DR Thornton.
Uh-huh.
And typically, I can't, Jason's gonna have to correct me, but typically, when I go to buy a townhome, I start picking.
Oh, so you get to pick from the menu?
Right,
So,
right.
so that way there's, like, nobody's got control over the looks of the whole thing in one?
No, you can't, you won't be able to pick the outside.
Oh, okay, okay,
So,
okay.
like, when they put them together, it's already predetermined.
When you come for your final, you're gonna have these blocks laid out just the way they're gonna be, nobody's gonna pick anything. They're gonna buy them as is. Okay,
That's right.
okay.
And
They can't pick a German dormer.
Yeah, yeah.
the siding's gonna be vinyl or is it gonna be hardy?
It'll be vinyl.
I would like to see, though, the facade of each block of buildings and what dormers are on each one fixed.
And the end wall, and the end units.
We have those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We want
no
exactly-
blank walls on the end units.
Because how these are mixed up together could really look like garbage if they don't
Hodgepodge,
fit
right.
together.
Are they going to be all the same color roofs and?
No, they'll have different colors, siding colors. The roofs are probably all the same. They're shingles.
Same shingle.
It's just basically one big gable that runs off, and then you got a bunch of other
Yes.
things going
And
on.
I think some set back and others don't.
Some
They
of
do,
these was-
really? So it's not one big ridge line, it's,
We've got one building of 6 where the 2 end units are staggered.
oh, yeah, right,
1 through
right.
6.
From that one to 6, right?
Correct.
So maybe something different there, like with the end units having the gable on the, that gave you something different, like the end units having the gable on the front, rather than, to break that hole.
What's that?
That's what I never will find that.
No, but we have to submit these other matters anyway, we'll just do it then.
Well, just, so we're not dealing with it later,
Right,
right, yeah,
right.
now, so,
Yep.
trying to save, Mark.
Go ahead, Judy. Jean Bronson from Trenton. How is your gutters gonna be set up on these? Because if you're making them be simple and the person's responsible for everything, are you gonna have some kind of division, or all the gutters are gonna go straight across the building? How is that gonna be handled?
The gutters will handle, depending on the roof line, so they'll go across, like the ones with the gable won't have any gutters, of course, because they'll be coming off the end. So each unit will have gutter coming down, their part of the house or unit.
So will they be actually separated, or is it gonna be one whole piece? Because that's the biggest problem we have. It's one whole piece. I would love to get gutter guards, but unless my neighbor does it, there's no real point.
Yeah. Now, depending on how they're set back, like some of these are set back, so it wouldn't be a whole piece. It'd be like 2 units might be together, then the next one might be by itself.
If it's just a suggestion, the one thing they can do gutter separations. So even if it is one whole piece, you can put it right down the border line, so that one person's gutter, the other person's gutter, it might make. And then the other thing is, has anybody looked into the solar streetlights, like what they have in the Pines? They're really cool. They're the same Victorian style, but they're solar with backup. But I mean, it just might be something like a more green, something to look forward to. And I know with these developments, it's kind of be something just to investigate. So
You?
Didn't know that.
Ocean Pines, I think it's the park.
Uh-huh.
I think theirs is solar. They're not ugly. I mean, it's like a small thing.
And was each light have a little panel on it?
Yeah, they have their own little panel. So they're done just like the town lights. They look like the town lights, except they have a little solar thing on there. We were gonna look into it, but our lights had already been purchased, so it wasn't economical. But since this is brand spanking new, it could be something you might want to look into. I heard they're not that much more expensive. So.
Okay.
Any other
Thank you.
comments, anybody? Yes?
Patty Corson, 5 Penson Light Lane, number 2. In 2019, when we sold the property on each side of Purnell Crossing, and somebody was going to build, of course, we were unhappy because they were going to be rentals, and now I am happy at least they're going to be for sale. But I hate to say it, but these houses look cheap, and we were told they were going to be comparable at least to what Purnell Crossing had. Some brick front, and in fact, a lot of the houses in Purnell Crossing are brick. So this is set in stone? Is this set in stone that it's going to be this siding, all this ugly, just nothing but siding? I don't know, it's just my opinion, but I don't like the looks of these at all. They weren't It wasn't what even was presented to us when they were gonna build townhouses next to us and rent them. At least they looked nicer and more comparable to what we have. And as the gentleman on the end there said, we're trying to keep the town of Berlin consistent with brick and beautifulness, not bring in a bunch of trashy townhouses. Sorry, builder, I'm sure you're doing the best you can, but I just was wondering if this is, set in stone or.
Do you have a price range he's gonna sell for?
These will be in the high 300s.
What's the square footage?
These are, I think they're between 1,900 and 2,200, I believe.
That counts the garage.
I think it's hard to visualize them when they're not put together.
It
And
is.
that's why you're
And they're
having an
black
issue
and white.
with looking trashy or whatever, but, that's,
The rendering we have they look a lot better than this single thing like this.
Is the first floor just garage?
It's a garage, and I think there's it's like a game room kind of thing.
Not a living space per se.
Yeah.
Yeah, rendering would help.
yeah, I think it would.
Yeah.
Yes.
Marie DeLong, did you ever think about putting, I don't know what it's called, is it a gable, something over the door to keep the jump just open into the rain? And that might make the front of the building look
break it
better.
up. Something to break up the tall walls.
That's a good idea.
I
That's a
hate
little
when
texture.
you have a house like that.
We need to get you the other drawings. but it's-
Garages with doors with windows in it.
We're gonna get you some renderings.
Okay, I'm just,
No, I'm with
that's what
you.
I like to see, so let's
Look,
not,
I'd rather
let's not
have-
do it a month from now, let's do it
Yep.
now.
No, when you get everything else, we'll submit
Okay.
the elevations.
Okay.
Any other comments from the public? Anybody? So you're not looking for a final site plan tonight? You're gonna be able to come back with all the other, with these, the street lighting, landscaping, and maintenance for the stormwater and the rendering plan? Is that, or next time, or
That'd
did
be
you
the
want?
best way to do it.
There's a lot of questions right now.
There's a lot of,
Well, I think we'd like to get preliminary, and then,
I think we're telling you that the project can move forward. We
Yeah.
just want to see these
All right,
details worked out.
so we'd like to have approval subject to your review of those other items, so we can go ahead and move forward with the site development.
Well, I don't want to limit our items to raise once we get the supplemental items, because I think supplemental items are important. It doesn't slow you down any for us not to. I think we're just telling you,
Yeah,
we're moving in your direction, you wouldn't waste your time. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I do, I don't think you need approval or anything, I think you're getting it verbally from us.
Our code doesn't spell out like other jurisdictions, a preliminary site plan approval,
Right.
and then you move to site plan approval. Ours does not specify that. We do not have a quote preliminary site plan approval.
Right.
Way we've handled it for a long, long time, since I've been here. We've done it as a concept usually. You get the commission's feedback, input, what they want to see, if anything, that needs to be changed, then you come back for site plan approval. And
Just like tonight.
that seems to work for everybody.
Okay, that's fine.
Like it?
You okay with that, Jason?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the site plan may change too, because you may change.
Well, we're gonna change some anyway, we've already
Yeah,
talked to you about
so,
it. Okay.
I think the public would approve of getting rid of the apartment buildings that were already
Right. Yeah, this is a better,
approved.
This is an upgrade from what.
this is a better neighbor.
Correct.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Got the list?
The mask list thing adds the 100 penny wing thing comes out a lot better
I
without.
didn't tell you, I think she had a couple of minor I don't think you have any issues with it. Okay.
Yes,
I got them in my office. If I had to argue, I'd make them stay, but.
Thank you all.
I'll get
Good to see
it.
you. Thanks for the entertainment and the education.
Pro bono.
What's that word for us?
No, I told him I think Jason's gas program. He didn't have to pay for that.
So that's why.
Pete hungry? You hungry, Pete? Big back suburban.
Yeah, I guess so. See if they hadn't done it, I don't think any of them have.
So that would be for you then.
I was told.
Ready to rock and roll? What's that?
I forgot these, each year you have to, the ethics commission, you have to sign.
Oh, I turned it in already.
You did, okay, if any of you haven't,
I did one
Okay.
already.
No, did I get any big gifts from anybody?
right,
No, I don't, I turned it in already, yes, ma'am.
just if you would, fill that out for me, give it to me before you leave.
Yeah, I had to list my guest.
Yes, sir, and introduce yourself.
Yes, Chris gave me a discount.
I think you got one member that's in the restaurant.
Sure.
You have
Is
said.
Pete gone or is he coming back?
He left.
He's gonna have to leave.
He's worthless.
Him and Mark Cropper and go put a bill together.
Yeah, I guess.
All right. Item number 6, site plan approval, Berlin Activities Depot.
Good evening, my name is Jessel. Jessel Silva. Is that me?
No,
That's it.
Is it
That's not a good start.
Yes, sir, go right ahead.
Jessel Silva, GMB.
Hey,
Unfortunately,
guys.
Hey, back there,
Hey, guys.
please.
Hey.
Hey, public,
Hey. Sorry.
thank you.
go right ahead.
Unfortunately, Ms. Solido and our architect couldn't make it tonight, so I'll try to answer your question the best I can. So, we're here today hopefully for approval for the master site plan for the proposed expansion of the Berlin Activities Depot. The changes from what you saw from the conceptual about a month back is minor. The main changes really is the signage which was changed from an elevated to a ground base. We did reduce our seating for the restaurant. We were a little too eager. We had shown roughly 84 seats previously, and we had cut that down to about 30 indoors and 10 outdoors. And we had also provided a rendering, I think it was requested from the last meeting. From that rendering, we kind of changed the pitch of that roof along old Ocean City Road to kind of better hide those HVAC units. I know that was a topic from the previous.
Are they coming off the roof or are they gonna stay up there?
As of now, it looks like that's where it's gonna go.
And you're probably gonna less likely see him at the angle of reality, correct? You might not even see him at all.
Correct, it's hard because from the
Right.
rendering.
If you're on the road,
Absolutely.
It's not a 2D thing.
So everything else is the same, we're in code, stormwater wise, we'll meet the 100-year storm just because we are connecting to the town's storm drain system. Parking, the reduction of the seats for the restaurant only helps that parking analysis by the traffic group.
So Dave, all the parking stuff makes this is all good?
Yeah, with the calculations from it's a lot of uses, you know, there's an educational use with the two-story building, the restaurant use. If you add up if you compartmentalize the usages, they can make the parking requirement, yes. So it wouldn't require a variance. And then the other thing, you know, Jess is mentioning stormwater. Now, the formal stormwater submittals, we haven't got them yet. For our town engineer to review, but they've had a lot of conversations with GMB staff back and forth with EA Engineering, our engineers. So the concept that they want to pursue is doable, from what, that's my understanding, but no formal submittal has been made yet. So they have, if you look at the corner of Graham and Nelson, there's a, in the right corner there of the property, a best management practice stormwater pond. And then back to the left, towards the one addition, closer back to the grain silos for Purdue there, there's also a submerged gravel wetland there. So those are new features to the property to handle the stormwater on site. I think I'm correct in saying that, right?
Correct, so we have done preliminary calculations, and we're pretty confident that stormwater-wise will meet what's required by the town.
Because that is a really, really bad spot. That
Correct.
might be the lowest spot in town.
It is a challenging site
Yeah.
for stormwater,
Right.
yes.
And this will improve the current conditions.
It will, at the very least, we will not have any adverse impact.
Worst year or something.
I think it's safe to say managing the 100-year storm is not normal. So we're going to try to keep that on site. So as it leaves the site, it will not have any adverse impact downstream. That is our ultimate goal.
And this drains right into that town wetlands, I guess? Is that the flow?
So if you look at the map here,
You know what I'm talking about, on the other side of...
I am not.
of the- Well, you know where the newspaper is, across the street.
Unfortunately, I'm not.
Okay, well, there's a town, Dave, you know,
Up
does this
above.
dump into the town's submerged?
Our submerged gravel wetland is here, Jess.
Is
And
that
he's
where-
talking about the newspaper here. Here's Graham Avenue, here's the Built Berlin.
Oh, okay.
Is it flow to that?
It
Any
does
upper
not
right-
flow into that. It will manifold south of that submerged gravel. So if you,
Yeah, that's for overflow, Ron. That submerged gravel wetland is for,
But whatever overflows here is going there, right?
it could.
Okay.
Instead of
It's
heading
down-
down, instead of continuing
the
down
street.
Graham Avenue.
Right, it's going.
Because we know that Graham Avenue and what's under it and what's under Nelson, that's the real problem we
Right,
have in this
right,
region.
right.
The pipes were never sized large
Large
enough
enough,
back
yeah.
in the 50s or 60s. I guess the technology's better now to size them better. And then pervious surface was different, flood levels were different.
There were less houses,
So,
less impervious.
That's like the next element of the town stormwater, if we ever get the next $1 million in grants, would be to dig up Grand Avenue all the way to William Street and replace those pipes for this region. And then another one would be out West Street.
Right.
That $1 million would be digging up West Street and doing the pipes all the way from Brittany Lane to Broad Street, let's say. So those are the two major ones. That submerged gravel wetland helps, but it is not to drain off that area and fill up like
It's
a
just
pond.
It's the overflow.
It was never a pond, it was always an overflow.
Right.
So his won't directly go there, it would in an overflow
Right,
situation.
in 100 years, different.
Right, 7 days of rain, whatever.
Okay, okay.
Well, the first phase is gonna be what?
so the plan is to develop the north expansion, which is the restaurant and the gym.
So that would require the stormwater, the whole project, the stormwater have to be done before that, or does that go in phases, or is it all?
That would depend.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, so if
On the
you're gonna-
pervious surface being added at the time. So impervious surface being added at the time.
Mhm.
So I would think that, yeah, that site work would be done
Correct.
at the start of this addition and the restaurant. Or at the start of any new construction, that site work, including the stormwater, would be done.
Would have to be required to be done then, so that would,
Yeah, because we also have to, at this time, we still have to determine where exactly the water and sewer line hookups are gonna be on the property. I know Jamie Latson, Water Resources Director, and I had talked to Jess's colleague, Dave Rovancik, and they were gonna get through this phase, approval, and then we were gonna go out and actually site it on the property where it was gonna meet up. So there's still site consideration to be made before they start digging any dirt for the ponds or for parking lot or for foundation for the new building.
Well, I came through there this morning when the monsoon was going on, so.
Fresh in your mind it was.
It was a monsoon.
Yes, so I mean, it was,
In your canoe?
hmm,
In your canoe?
close. Kind of.
The new sign you proposed, do you know approximately the height on that roughly?
I do not know. I think we mentioned the signage would be the LED changing light, so we do not have a product yet selected for that.
Just curious. And the one on the side of the building, will that be illuminated, or will that just be a flat metal sign, non-illuminated? Or do you know?
I do not know.
Okay, that's fine.
It preferred that it wasn't illuminated, especially if you have a monument that is lit, and it would require uplighting, like the one on the building.
Thank you.
Public, anybody have any questions?
Dave, I didn't see where is the proposed outflow pipe of their stormwater management? If it's not going into your area, where's it dumping?
In the street.
That's
In the
question.
street, in Graham.
In the street,
In Nelson and Graham, yeah.
and then down Nelson.
You see it here.
It's gonna go, it's gonna go.
See this is actually here.
It's a new
Okay.
There it is. And then it actually goes this way here.
Okay.
But that's the overflow, that's our
South.
submerged gravel
So
well.
that's the overflow pipe?
That's the overflow.
But the
then,
primary discharge is?
yeah, you see, you can tell in your storm drain network, the Hudson Branch, that goes that way.
Okay, okay.
Gotcha.
Because that was all new there. And this is the older going that way. Then he has one shown here, and then one shown here. So far, but that's what's on the site plan, but I haven't seen the calculations yet, so.
The question I have is,
Yeah.
that site was waived for stormwater back in the day when it was built. Okay, which kind of led to a lot of the flooding problems down there. All the existing building gutters are dropping right on the parking lot and causing the flooding situation, or adding to the flooding situation. So my question is, and I mean, you guys as a group.
Okay, can you identify yourself, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, Eric Fjord.
Okay, good, for the record,
Right
okay.
down, I'm sorry. And the question I have is, obviously, all of Old Ocean City Road, and then this area, it is a flooding concern, and, we're doing a project in, stormwater, and we had to get a waiver for helping stormwater. So, my question would be is, as you guys as a group, I really think that, is this project a whole, you have to address the original stormwater issue with the property before it can be expanded on.
Yes.
I mean, this is my argument, and I'm not trying to do it, I'm pro-business guy, I'm not saying that, but there's a big problem at the end of that road. And